Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley with Haley Stitches, and today I'm going to give you a tour of my sewing room. So my sewing room does not really look like what you usually see here on YouTube. There is nothing from Ikea. It is not all bright white. It's a lot of secondhand furniture and really affordable furniture, and it doubles as my home office. So I hope today's video gives you some inspiration and ideas for how you can set up your sewing room in your home. When I first walk into my sewing room, I can see my sewing desk and my cutting desk. So we'll go over my cutting desk storage first. So this is an old antique dresser, and in the top two drawers, I have some technical stuff for my videos. The middle drawer has a bunch of yarn, and the bottom drawer is just miscellaneous storage right now. But the nice thing is that my cutting mat fits perfectly here, so I can leave it out at all times. This is a folding mat, but I no longer need to fold it because I have a space where I can leave it out the whole time. And in the corner, I keep some of my ongoing projects. I have some extra fabric in there as well. And then we go over here, and this is my sewing desk. So I don't really use the two drawers there. I'll show you what I use for most of my quilting storage in a moment. But this desk, I just got this from Target. As you can see, we definitely like wood furniture in our house. My sewing room is not an Ikea sewing room at all. So we like to get a lot of secondhand furniture or just wood furniture. And this desk is a new desk from Target. And then my sewing machine, I use a Singer Tradition. It was very, very cheap, but it gets the job done. I'm hoping to invest in a new one very soon. And then this is just a little antique in and out folder. Right now, I just have some blocks that I finished in the bottom, and then in the top is my very, very first quilt. So I will show you this. I don't think I've showed anybody this before. So this is what that quilt looks like. I actually made this with my Grandma Joyce when I was really young. I don't exactly know the year. There's no label on it, but I have a twin sister and we both chose all of the fabrics. I remember she had a huge sewing shed outside of her house, and we chose all the fabrics out of her scrap bin. She cut it up, sewed it, and then tied it for us. So we used these as doll blankets when we were younger, and I still have mine, and it just sits in my sewing room. I am hoping to hang it up at some point once I attach a hanging mechanism to it, but for now it just stays in here. Above my quilting desk, I actually have this curtain rod. So it goes the entire length of my room, and I saw Lori Holt have one of these, so that gave me the idea for it. But right now it just has this really small throw size quilt on it. If you go to my Instagram, you can see the inspiration for this quilt. It was a piece of artwork by an independent designer, and it just hangs up here now. It's been hanging up here for quite a while. I'm planning on switching it out pretty soon. Down here is actually my craft stand for cross stitch, so that is where that stays stored. And then again, this is a piece of secondhand furniture my husband found at his job. We brought it back here, and the cats like to hang out here. So there's a window, as you can see, and usually I have some feline friends in here when I'm crafting and sewing. Then over here I do have a quilt ladder. It has 3 of my most recent quilts on it. And my husband made this for me. He followed a really easy tutorial. It was a HGTV tutorial, I think. But he stained it and sealed it and made it all himself. So I'm really grateful that he took the time to do that for me. And I really, really like it. I am hoping that he can make another one soon so that we can have one in the living room, because I'm gonna run out of space. I have more quilts that need to be hung up and need to be displayed. And on this side of my room is my home office. So I am lucky enough to work from home, which I love. As you can see, the desk is the exact same desk as my sewing desk, so we have some matching going on in the room. And then I pretty much only use this desk when I'm working. So it makes it really easy to kind of shift from sewing mode to working mode, because I don't work on the computer at this desk. It's my work computer, it's not a personal computer. And then in those drawers are just work-related things. And then up here I have a nice whiteboard with a calendar, and right now I'm basically using it for a content calendar for Haley Stitches, but there are some personal things that I add on there as well. And you're probably wondering, where the heck is all of my quilting supplies and stuff? So that's where this closet comes into play. Because I have cats, I cannot leave anything out in the open. So yes, this is what my room looks like all the time. I did not just clean it up for you. So let's open this up. And I will say I did clean up the closet for you guys because it was a little bit messy, but I wanted this to be kind of as realistic as possible. And you don't need everything to be super pretty as long as it's functional. I mean, that's the goal here. So on the door, I have my ironing board, and then right when you step in, you can see I have 2 rolling carts, a little pegboard storage, and then when we peek around the corner, you're gonna get a good look at where all of my stuff is. So from storage all the way to the top and down to the floor. So I'm gonna take out a couple things here so we can get a better vantage point and then really get into detail of what my storage solutions look like for this small space. Okay, so I pulled out my rolling carts, and one is for quilting and one is for cross stitch. So the cross stitch one I will go through first. These are really nice. I got these from Michael's, and they actually have lids that go with them too. And the lid fits on every tier, so you can choose what tier you want. So I just have some finished projects. This is really just kind of miscellaneous stuff that I don't know where else to put it. Then in this first drawer, I have all of my skeins in this container. I have my cross stitch journal. I have my bobbins. And then I just have some miscellaneous supplies. You can see some needles in there, and then just some extra rings and bobbins in here too, and some extra little storage things here. And in the bottom, I have a plastic bag full of extra stuff I need to go through. And then down here is where I store my extra fabric and hoops and felt for finishing the back. For my quilting one, so I usually take this whole thing out when I'm working on a big quilting project. If I am not working on something really huge, then what I do is just pick out the supplies that I need and take them out to my table. So in this top one, I have some marking utensils. I have some old containers where I put my old rotary blades and needles in, a little pin cushion, clover clips, some alpha bitties. In here are safety pins, some more pins, and then machine quilting gloves. So this is really everything I kind of need most frequently. It just stays in here. And these little containers I got from the Container Store. That's where all of my containers in my closet are from. And I really like these because they are small enough to just hold some tiny things. And I can still close the lid with these in the center of the basket. Now we'll go down to the second tier, and it just has more storage. Lint rollers, and here is my thread, just some excess beads and stuff. I have some elastic in here, some labels. In this container, I'll show you, it really has like all of my miscellaneous notions. A lot of these are notions I've gotten from the Fat Quarter Shop Sew Sampler subscription. So let's put these down. So we got the endurance blade. These are like everything I got most recently. Yeah. And then some glue sticks in the bottom for foundation paper piecing. But yeah, if you have seen my Sew Sampler videos or you get a Sew Sampler yourself, you know that this is pretty much everything we've gotten this year from the Sew Sampler subscription. I do try to use the supplies as much as possible. Because they're all in here, it kind of looks like I don't use them, but I do. Like I said, I just like to keep things organized, and I don't have the option of leaving everything out in my room because my cats would get into it all and it would really be a disaster. Okay. And then the bottom, this has really no rhyme or reason. I have my little stash and store here, some labels, and then these are just the patchwork scrunchies I was working on. I do have a tutorial on my YouTube channel if you're interested in making these patchwork scrunchies. They are really good for a scrappy project. And now we can kind of step in the closet and get a better look. So on this wall is where usually all of like my tech gear goes. So I usually have an Ethernet cable there for my day job. And then that's where like my ring light goes, my tripod, and then I have some of these boards just to help with lighting. On the back here, I have a pegboard that I got from the Container Store. This holds all of my rulers and cutting utensils. And then I hang my little mini iron there. And then as we go up, you can see I have my design boards, and then there's just a trifold board. And then if we look up here, on the very, very top shelf is stuff I don't use very often. On the right is my wedding dress storage, because that's where it fits. And then I have a bunch of batting on the left, and in the middle is just a holding case for my ring light. And we go down to this level. So I can reach this level a little bit better, but I still need a step stool. So on the left-hand side is where I put all of my patterns, and then just some more kind of miscellaneous stuff. I have a winder for yarn. And then once we get to these shelves, these are the shelves that I can access really easily, and this is where the majority of my craft supplies go. So I will go through each one just briefly. So this one is my cross stitch works in progress. I am overdue for a whip parade, so that'll be coming soon. And then the top right is all of my pre-cuts. And then the bottom right is my scrap bin. It is kind of overflowing, so I need to go through it and cut everything into kind of smaller pieces so I can fit more stuff in there. In the bottom left are some works in progress, as well as some finished quilt tops that I need to quilt. And on the bottom shelf is my fabric yardage. So if you are interested in how I fold my fabric like this, you can check out my most recent YouTube video. I will link that here for you to check out. But basically I use comic book boards, and then it gives this really nice effect of everything really neat and tidy. And these containers are all the exact same size. They're a large container from the Container Store. I will have those linked below too, because they fit these comic book boards perfectly. So you can keep everything really, really nice and easily accessible. And they also come with lids. So that's how I'm able to stack these. I put kind of notions and stuff in the bottom, and then just keep my fabric open on top. And the bottom right one is for yarn related notions. So everything for knitting and crochet mostly. And then the bottom left is really just a grab all of every other craft I have. So yeah, I'm not really gonna pull that out because I'm not even really sure what's all in there. And in the very bottom here is my case for my sewing machine, and then a couple wicker baskets. Those baskets, I just don't really have a good place for them out in my room, so they're just kind of hanging out there. I was putting knitting and crochet works in progress in there, but I don't have any right now, so they are empty. So one more thing I will add about this closet is that it used to just be like a regular full-size closet, but then we kind of cut it off here. So my husband built shelves. So I'm able to have these nice, really deep shelves back here so I can use it as shelving. And honestly, it's a really, really good idea if you have an extra closet like this, because storage can be a little bit challenging with a long, narrow space. So I love that we just kind of cut it off, and then we were able to put these containers that fit perfectly in here. So if you ever wanted to know how I hide everything, that is how I do it. And then the last thing we're gonna look at is a little bit of decoration I have. Hopefully this will eventually be filled with all of my projects, but for now I have just a handful of things on here to get started. So I will show you what I have hanging. This top one is Sew by Row by Lori Holt. And this middle one was kind of like a testing thing I did with crochet, but basically it's the back of a girl's head and she has yarn hair. This is completely empty, but I plan to do something with it with my extra scrap fabric, so stay tuned for that tutorial if it turns out how I want it to. This one is my very, very first cross stitch project. So this is called Vintage Yellow Flowers, and it is by DMC. It's a free pattern. So I love how this one looks. It turned out really, really nicely, and this was kind of the project that made me fall in love with cross stitch. And here's my enamel pin banner. So I do have a tutorial on YouTube if you want to check that out, how to make it, but I use it for my enamel pins, my buttons, and my needle minders. If you are into My Favorite Murder, you will see some familiar pins on there. And then over here are a couple hoops I made. So the one on the bottom left is embroidery. That's the very, very first embroidery, and actually the last embroidery I ever did at the start of the new year. And then this one is called Mod Flowers. This is my free pattern that you can get on my website. So I will leave that link down below as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found any part of it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more quilting and cross stitch videos in the future, please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye.